Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Mystic Junkies podcast, the history of mystery comedy show. We're exploring the mysteries of the universe and the world. Really, we're coming down to our time now, right? This is pretty cool. We're going to be
terrestrial,
covering some really cool stuff. But before we do that, we're bringing back one of our favorite guests, one of our best guests, really.
Thank you.
Also one of our only guests. So, just kidding.
We've had a couple.
We've had a couple. But you've been our favorite.
Thank you.
And you're back tonight with us. Tiffany Jenkins, everybody. Tiffany.
Hi,
Welcome.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. How you been? It's been a while since you've been with us.
Yes, not much has changed. I still have no idea what's going on. So
This is why we bring her in.
happy to be here.
We're really excited. We're doing Cold War, spy tech, espionage, and how it relates to really our time period right now. So I'm excited for it. And let's dive into it. Let's do it. Let's get into the spies.
That was my thing.
That's your cue.
Yep,
That's your
that's
cue.
cue.
So I kind of took espionage as just that in itself, and then of course it leads into Cold War and blah blah blah. And the thing about espionage, this was interesting. You have terms espionage, spy, treason.
Yeah.
Which are three different things. I come to find out.
Yeah.
And espionage and spying has been going on as long as there's been any reason for that to be going on, which has been forever.
Yeah.
Okay, forever. Yeah. I mean, literally goes back as far as documentation goes back to early Egypt.
Wow.
It goes back 1700 years before Christ. Organized espionage.
Wow.
It was interesting that espionage, they have a term called MICE, M-I-C-E. Okay. The reason people do spying or espionage in any time for any purpose is within those four reasons. MICE: money, ideology, compromise or coercion, ego. Okay. So, money. Whenever someone is placed in a position where they realize that they have access to knowledge that somebody else wants, okay, then somebody within that is probably going to do it in most every case. So money is a huge driver for spying and espionage. Whether it was the Cold War or any other time, money was a huge driver. I would have thought ideology would have been the biggest driver, but I think when you really get down to it, money is the biggest driver. Of course, there's ideology within it. That probably comes in more when it's a war situation. I think, once again, espionage and spying has a tendency to think it's always wrapped around war. It's always wrapped around a conflict. And so espionage can, of course, there's corporate espionage. Any faction that can benefit from getting information about a competitor. Doesn't matter what that is. That could be, I mean, we know that even in things as silly as the NFL, got caught years ago. Teams got caught doing that sort of thing. Because money is a big driver there, and winning, getting the leg up. So anytime you have any kind of competition whatsoever, it really doesn't matter where that is, whether it's country to country, corporation to corporation, individual to individual. If there's a lot of competition there for somebody to win, spying is an integral part, espionage is an integral part of winning.
Right.
Okay? So, ideology, then compromise or coercion. Okay? That is just what it said. I mean, someone gets to you, Edith, and knows you're working for, a big corporation, let's say a pharmaceutical corporation that is developing a new drug, and they are in a competing, and it's billions of dollars if somebody gets this first, kind of a thing. And on the bad end, they might come to you and go, either you start feeding us information, or we've already done some research into your background and we know some things that you don't want to come up.
You're gonna do it either way,
and they will. So that they will. That, or maybe even threaten your family, whatever, that sort of thing.
That's like turning an asset.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then ego would simply be that I'm going to do it because I can fuck you up.
Yeah.
And I just want to fuck you up. You know what I mean? I mean, for what, I'm going to do it because I'm just going to show you that I can.
Right.
That kind of a thing. And so it was just really, espionage is just such an integral part of how we do business as human beings. It's how we work, and so it's always been there. It's there now. Everything you can think of to do within espionage is being done. When you went through all the different terms that they have in espionage and spying, there's a list of about 50 of these terms that they actually use. And there's, like, you've got an agent, you've got an asset, you've got a double agent, you got double agents, you have triple agents, you have double agents, you have literally, you have espionage for the purpose of feeding information. You have espionage for the purpose of feeding false information. So in other words, to propaganda, to make your competitor believe that the other side is doing something that they're not doing, so that they will counterintelligence. They'll do that sort of a thing. Knocking this thing over. So when it comes to the Cold War, that was probably the most obvious to us, because it involved, of course, the nuclear situation that we're still wrapped up in.
Created a lot of the technology we have.
Well, yes.
Started it.
Yeah. Yes, somewhat. Well, as soon as we had the nuclear situation, which just took off like crazy, of course, right after it was developed in World War II.
Arms race.
The arms race, which, once again, money and ego. It's the reason we're in this situation.
Control.
And of course, that gave rise to spying to keep, supposedly to keep us from destroying the entire world. Same as it is right now. There's also kind of a wild thing was that from a couple of things I read in spying, there's like this code. There's like a
code of ethics.
A code of ethics, yes, like a code of ethics. And so it's like, it's not cut and dry what your punishment would be if you get caught as a spy. You would think, spy, treason, hung, shot in the head, that's that. No. It depends on how the information was gathered, why the information was gathered, and then what the countries involved think that the person that got caught, how they can be best utilized. Okay, so if they feel that the best way to make the point that they want to make or get what they want in the end is to kill that person, then of course that's what they're going to do. But they go, no, in many cases it's like, no, it'd be better to hang on to this person, because we can use them to trade. Or, no, it'd be better just to take this person, let them go, because we're going to have a situation that's going to pop up and we're going to want the other side to do the same thing. There's
a lot of different techniques.
During World War II and even in the Cold War, you have the Geneva Convention, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't know if we even use that anymore.
It's a guideline.
It's a guideline,
It's a guideline
for if you get captured, you're supposed to be treated a certain way as a soldier. So if a soldier was going into enemy territory to get information, okay, if that soldier gets caught and he's wearing his uniform, then he's not a spy. He's a soldier, and he's treated with the Geneva Convention, right. Okay, if he's wearing part of a uniform, not all of the uniform, but part of the uniform, but the part of the uniform that he's not wearing is a disguise, then he could be subject to not having Geneva Convention protection and being a spy. But if what he was wearing that wasn't a uniform, he needed to wear for survival because it was really, really cold and he needed to wear a jacket over his thing, then he's still deemed a soldier.
So confusing.
And that's just 3 examples, and I read probably 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So it's also the whole thing about this about spying is that the whole thing is inconsistent by design.
It's meant to confuse.
It's meant to confuse. It's meant to just play it out, play everything out as to whatever we feel is going to be the best for this situation. So there's no fairness to it at all.
Everybody's breaking the rules.
Absolutely. So. That's what it's all about.
And creating rules and then breaking the rules.
That's right.
And one of the interesting things I found was Putin. Putin was former KGB.
Yep.
He was also the best spy. He was considered the best spy hunter in the world. So he specialized in East and West Germany. He would catch a spy, and then, like you said, there's all these different things you can torture him, get information out of him. But he specialized in turning assets. So he would find a way to turn them into a double agent, and he used all sorts. He used like torture. He also used brainwashing. He used all different types of techniques to give them the information that he wanted, and also put them back out into the field as if they never got caught, and just act as normal and keep feeding us information. And he was very, very good at it, like very good, like scary good at it. You know what I mean? And
that the KGB. And there's 2 in Russia. There was
Espionage and KGB. Usually.
Yeah, and then of course the CIA. Those were all pretty much developed after World War II. That was World War I started a big movement, but then after World War II was when these agencies really popped. A lot of government funding, a lot of our tax money started going there.
CIA.
And it's all, in our case, there's actually, I think 14 different agencies that gather intelligence.
Awesome.
And they're all funded, well, I think up until maybe about 10 years ago, I think they're almost all funded through the Defense Department.
Yes.
So it's part of the overall military budget. So that we really don't know
what it's being spent on. Yeah.
What any of this is being spent on. Again, by design.
It's called a black budget.
But I think somewhere about, I want to say about 10, 15 years ago, I think the budgeting moved into the CIA as a line item. Okay. So that at least you knew that
some accountability.
Yeah, some accountability. So some kind of sort.
And they developed all these little small pockets of like agencies because CIA is not allowed to operate on domestic soil. So like they're not supposed to be running any sort of ops or anything like that. And then they got caught so many times and they're like, well, we're going to develop this other agency that's allowed to operate.
Why
and they're
is
just
there
trading. They're just trading people back and forth.
And there are 100 strippers here.
And that goes to the being, if you're an agent, you're doing that. Well, it's like if you're a British spy and you get caught in America, it's not as bad. If you're a British spy and you're spying on Britain, you're treason. You know what I mean? So it's where you spy and how you spy is very different in how you would be punished if you get caught in knowing that. And so, I'll leave it with this and let you guys talk. All the divisiveness that's going on right now, has been going on for the past 10 years, with people out there, and this radical left, radical right, that are going, there's this dark part of our government that's doing all this shit that we don't know about, and and this, that whole rap. Well, guess what? It's kind of true, yes, and it always has been. This isn't anything new. No. This has always been going on, and it will always be going on.
Always be a reason
always.
For
it is part of the way that human beings, when they're organized into governments and corporations and anything, once again, that is highly competitive, that against something else, another entity, this is part of the way you do business.
Definitely.
Part of the way it works.
I'm going to see some caveman spy tech.
And well, that's...
You've seen those drawings.
Yeah, I know, man. I know.
Highly competitive, yeah. But that one thing I thought interesting, especially in the Cold War, and this was kind of like the proving ground for all of this to develop, was one thing I found, like you said, if you're a Russian spying on Russia, the penalty is harsh, right?
Oh, yeah.
But one thing I always found is like that I thought was interesting, and there's so many different agents, and a lot of them have been, what do you call that? The Freedom of Information Act. They've been published, but there's a couple. Like for instance, one's codename Hero, and there's another one codename Trigun. And these were Russian citizens that we did not infiltrate. In other words, we didn't go and turn them. They were so concerned with what their government was doing that they full on offered to help us, right?
Yep.
And for instance, codename Trigun, he was this guy, they called him like the $1 billion spy.
Right.
And he gave us so much information on Russian technology that like we were able to completely develop a counter intelligence program just for Russia based off of just his pictures, just him constantly photographing documents and sending them over to us.
And the reason they called him the $1 billion spy was that's how much money it would have taken us to do it ourselves.
R&D.
He fed us so much information. He was literally worth billions of dollars.
Now, one thing I found interesting too is when these guys agreed to help the United States, they were like, "We'll do it," but they almost all of them asked for it's called the L pill or cyanide.
Cyanide.
Yep. So they were like, "We want you to give us
just in case."
So some of them had them wired into their pens. Yep. One guy had it in his glasses.
Yep.
So he would just take his glasses off and bite the end off of it and fucking dead.
Yep.
Because they did not want to get caught. Yeah.
Couple things. First of all, this conversation is horrifying. I'm learning so much, and I'm going to go home and look at everybody in my life a little closer.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you.
So my question is, do people volunteer to become spies, or are they assigned?
Sometimes they're recruited. The CIA will recruit
both.
out of college, honestly.
Like you say, that some people do volunteer for purposes money, because they realize that they have something very valuable.
Right.
So they'll do it for money. There's some that do it like Mike was just saying, because they're so concerned with what's happening with whether it's the corporation they're involved in or the country they're involved in or whatever. They're whistleblowers. Yeah. Edward Snowden is an example of a whistleblower. Yep. He's a guy that was so concerned with what was going on. He felt it was
his duty.
His moral duty to do
the difference being, though, Snowden didn't ever go to a foreign adversary. He was trying to get it to the public, which is different.
Yeah, right.
So in Cold War, they were like, our government's gonna cause a nuclear war. They keep raising the stakes. Like let me work with the Americans to try. So for instance, you asked Trigun. Trigun did survive. Codename Hero did not. He was killed. He was found out, but he was single-handedly responsible for stopping the Cuban Missile Crisis. He was the one that gave us the information that they were putting missile silos in Cuba. That he also gave us the information of what boat was going to be coming across delivering those missile heads to Cuba. So like he risked everything, and they found out who he was. They put him in a bunker somewhere, and they probably killed him very slowly over time.
Yep.
Did he not have his glasses with him?
Nope, I don't think he had a cyanide
Pen
pill with him.
or his glasses.
But there was a
Hold on, anal toolkit.
one thing.
Oh yeah, no, I can't wait to get to the yeah.
Oh, and then we'll get into like the tech because the
Oh,
tech
I got
is
all
really
the tech,
fun.
man. It's real fun.
But yeah, this was like kind of the proving ground. One thing I found very fascinating was that if you were in the field in Russia, and that's the thing, there was still an embassy. There was a United States embassy in Russia, which we operated out of almost exclusively.
Yeah.
But and then they were monitoring everything, so it was assumed if you're a spy, you're being surveilled no matter what. Every single second of the day.
Yep.
You almost can guarantee it. So they had all these different techniques. So like one would they would just try to lose it was like a cat and mouse game. They were just trying to lose the tail, the entire. So you'd wake up in the morning, have your cup of coffee, and go, all right, here's our mission. Let's go out. And then you're just like, we gotta get rid of this van. So they would race, turn a corner. That guy would hop out and fucking change clothes real quick, look like a bum, and then they would keep driving, and then that guy would go out and do the mission. You know what I mean? And then they have to like pick that guy back up again and change his clothes back over again. It was all these like quick moving pieces to try and just evade everybody. It was so crazy.
And if you knew you were being watched,
yes,
you were not supposed to do any operational tactics.
Act as normal.
Just go about your business. We'll try again tomorrow.
And it was they had very practical technologies too. There was no like, from what I found, there was no like these like special laser like watches and stuff like that. It was very practical shit.
Sure.
Like they used to use dead drops, and they used to. This is funny. They used to use dead rats.
Yeah, because no one touches a rat.
But they looked around. They were like, every single culture in the world, every single religion doesn't fuck with rats, so we'll fuck with rats.
Yep, and they'll just be laying there in the
taxidermy
rats.
Yeah,
Spot,
and they would put like listening devices. They would put money. They would put whatever they could do to give their assets in the field. Yeah,
right. And then certain spies would insist that they would never have any contact with whoever they were giving the information to.
Yes.
Zero contact.
No paper trail.
No paper trail. And then the sleepers.
Yes.
This is like someone, many times it is just a regular Joe Blow out there, that they have, that is sitting, let's just say that put a sleeper in the middle of Manhattan, okay? And said, you may never be called on at all. You may never be called on. But if you are, it will just be a call that we will contact you. You'll be given your instructions, and you just do them. The sleeper may not even know exactly what they're doing. No. Or, you know what I mean?
What's the benefit? Like, why would you do that?
Well,
loyalty to your country.
Loyalty to your country, money, or coercion. Coercion.
There's a great.
They could have things on you that you don't want out.
I'd be the worst sleeper. They'd be like, "It's go time," and they'd just start crying.
Well, that was.
I'm drinking wine and eating chocolate. No.
That was one of the amazing things, though, in American culture. So that the Russian 100% had sleeper cells in America, and the problem was they waited too long to activate them. So they'd be here for like 10 years, and then next thing you know, they're like,
created a family
I
and
kind of fucking like America, and it sounds way better. But then they're in this weird pickle where they can't ever come out with their true identity because then they'll be arrested for espionage. But they also don't want to do the thing that Russia's telling them to do because they like America. They have friends that are neighbors. They have all these things. So it's like it's deep, deep, deep cover.
Yes.
And it's pretty. And there's still arguments that we still have sleeper cells probably that never were activated that were all the way back from the 80s. During the height of the Cold War.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and they're just like waiting. I had a bit about it actually. I was like, imagine just some dude like he's a janitor at a high school, and he's like, when are they going to activate me? Like,
I have been waiting for years.
Mother Russia, you have forsaken me. Like it's such a funny concept to me, but there's like they call them salt agents, stuff like that. It's wild stuff.
Talk about the rectal one. That one was the funniest one.
Well,
suppository.
One of the funniest ones.
It could be, but it could save your life also.
Yeah.
Like it's an anal
rectal
CIA
toolkit.
Yep.
So if you get caught, you shit it out and
it's
escape.
got like
or
little
try
things to
and
cut
it's got
ropes in there and
knives
stuff.
Pick locks.
Pick locks.
All
In your
sorts of stuff.
beak.
In your butthole.
In your butthole, yeah.
They just plop
In
it
a
right up,
kiss.
or whatever, any hole.
Not a knife.
Yeah.
We're not
on its
discriminatory.
own. Like, you don't have to shit out a blade.
Also known as the hard way out.
Sounds like it sucks.
Yeah, usually it would have to be very tightly sealed, you know.
Which, if you think about the funniest part about that is that every day you're just like, I'm putting it
right back
in your
up in
butthole,
there.
being like,
Yep.
just in case, okay, just in case, baby.
Every day you're putting it back in.
Yeah, yep, right there.
Every day. Yep.
There it is.
There it is. Look at that.
That's a-
That's a pretty big one too.
Yeah,
You know, that's like
scary.
okay, yeah.
But look what it holds inside.
Yeah, look at all that,
Yep.
man.
That is not
Yeah.
real.
Yes.
Yep. You could make sushi with that shit.
I don't want that sushi. I don't want that sushi. I'd rather have gas station sushi.
Yeah, that is gas station sushi.
But
It's so big.
Oh, my other favorite one was the false scrotum.
false scrotum was the thing.
Yeah, false
No,
scrotum.
the false-
There's
So
no
balls,
evidence.
Just the same thing.
There is no
Stuff's
evidence
in
that it
no,
was
no
ever
evidence
used.
that it was ever used.
Yes.
But it was an idea,
Yeah.
so I'm sure it was fucking used.
Oh, how about the fact that like most of the stuff, by the way, was Hollywood. Like Hollywood was
Oh,
making
right.
a lot of these ideas.
Yep.
So there was this one guy who made like thousands of masks, and he never asked questions. He was just like the government was telling him to do this, and he was
the 5-second mask.
well,
That's probably
5-second mask is one thing, but like he would just make masks and send them out, send them to the government, and he never really asked questions, and he didn't know that he was being utilized in spy tech.
Right.
Like he had no clue.
He's like, there's gonna be so many good movies coming out with my stuff in it.
He was just a guy who made makeup and stuff for movies, and then they just kept using him. Yeah.
Well, and better for him in those cases
That he don't
that
know
you don't
anything,
know.
right?
Yeah.
And then
Yes,
they can't
absolutely.
kill you, hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 5-second mask was that one thing that they, the spies would use. Just put one right over. You look like another person. It looked really ridiculous in the Cold War times.
It was
but
pretty
from
good.
but from long distances, you couldn't be like you could
could not
change your
tell.
appearance.
Yeah.
And just
If
move
they were
away
right
and
close
rip
to
it
you,
right
they
off.
could tell that there was
Yeah.
something like an apparatus. But
It was the beginning of the whole mask.
that was
thing,
the
yeah.
idea, though. Once again, you were just trying to break your tail. So like you would be wearing this 5-second mask. You would walk around the corner. You'd throw your coat off. Take the mask off. The idea was the mask had to like be able to condense to where you could hide it under your armpit.
In case you need to use
Yeah,
it.
and then you would change appearance like that, and then
Yep.
you'd just be walking down the street, and they'd be like, "Where the fuck did that guy go?" And he's like, "That's the guy."
That
And just-
connects to the Jack in the Box too.
Jack in the Box, yeah.
Yeah, because the Jack in the Box was if you have this tail, you could jump out the car, pop up the Jack in the Box, and it could look like it was the passenger.
Right.
Like it would just be an inflatable dummy that
An
just
inflatable dummy.
pops right up inside the car. You already escaped. It's now yours.
Oh.
Yeah, like you make a hard right or something. You
Yeah.
lose the tail for a second. Pop the Jack in the Box. Well, get out the car, pop the Jack in the Box, and then run. Probably put on the 5-second face mask.
Yeah.
And get away. You know.
And one thing I also found interesting, and there was this lady. She was the. I'm sure you watched the same video.
Probably.
She was the chief of disguise.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
was
But she
great.
was talking about all these movies that tried to replicate spy technology and stuff like that. And she said one of the funniest ones that she always sees in movies that's just absolutely not true is when you see like the guy like go to the locker and he opens the locker and there's like 7 passports in there, a bunch of money, like 5 guns. She's like, there's never would we ever do a
Everything
Dropbox.
in the
Too
same-
much
She
shit.
goes, it's so tedious and it's such a painstaking effort to make a fake passport that we wouldn't give you 7 on the whim that you might ever use one of them. You get 1, and that's the fucking one you got because it took 16 days just
Gave
to
you
make
one
it.
job, bro.
Yeah.
It's for that job.
It's for that job. Like there's none of that bullshit. Yeah. And also one thing is like they were like, when we disguise somebody, you're supposed to look. The idea was called the gray man or the gray woman. You were supposed to be forgettable. You were supposed to blend in. You're not that's why James Bond is the most ridiculous spy ever. You know, he's showing up in
handsome
an
man on
Aston
the
Martin.
planet.
Oh, yeah.
With a gold
Bling, bling.
encrusted, rings and shit like that.
Yeah.
You're like, no, you're way too.
Let
No,
me
way
go
too
and
extension yourself.
fuck all these women.
Yeah,
first
exactly,
And then go and
exactly.
do
It was-
some espionage.
It was silly. It was very silly.
I can't remember the movie that came out several years ago. It was, I think, up for Academy Award. I just now come into mind. Maybe it was Albert Finney or something. But it was about a spy.
Mm-hmm.
And the lead character in The Spy, was the most mundane, like, nondescript, accountant, no personality, doesn't...
Oh, that sounds like
Was that
Ben
him?
Affleck.
Shit, like,
Ben
he
Affleck
was a
did that,
hitman,
right?
right?
He was a hitman.
Yes, it
that's-
was.
He was a hitman, but it's like the guy that is the total wallflower,
Yeah.
no social life, and that's just the way he. And it's like when he goes out to kill somebody, it's so it's like it just happens so smoothly and seamlessly with no big hoorah. There's no big nothing. There's no big. It's just he goes and watches somebody. Watch somebody for 2 days. Well, you know where they go to work, and they go up there and da 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 da. And then he just gets in the elevator with them. Gets in the elevator with them with a gun with a silencer on it, and just shoots them in the back of the head. And walks out of the elevator, and I mean,
it was just Greg from accounting,
right? It's like, and I think it was that thing. It's like here's the James Bond movies.
Yes,
you know what I mean. That, and he goes, here's the real deal, which isn't going to play in the movies because there's no excitement to it. There's no drama. There's no big nothing. Nobody's getting laid. There's no beautiful women. There's nothing. It's just this dude that looks like your Uncle Phil that that has the bullshit job and everybody thinks is a nerd.
So
kills everybody.
Let's talk about the big one. So okay, I'll give you an example. For instance, there was a recording device in the seal behind the president's desk for almost 30 years. Did you hear about that?
No.
They fucking found a listening device from
what administration?
Ours.
Oh,
the President of the United States.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my God, I did hear
they
about
found
this
it during
shit.
Biden or Trump?
They found it, I think, during Bush or something like that.
Okay.
It was there forever, and so they've been listening for that long. Yeah, and it was wired into the electrical system and all that shit, so it was powered on this whole time.
Do they have any idea who?
Russian.
It was Russian?
They don't know, but they're like, this is probably Russian.
It could have been us. It could have been
yeah, it could have been us. Yeah, it could have been spying on our own guys.
Our own people, man.
But you heard about the exploding cigar that we tried to send to Castro? We sent.
No.
You never heard about that?
No.
We sent him an exploding cigar. He ended up not lighting it for some reason, but that one failed.
That's funny as fuck.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
A lot of people just hold cigars.
Who killed
Maybe
Cuba?
he was trying to quit smoking.
Who killed Castro? The Marx brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane.
They made a whole movie on this one. There was an exploding suitcase that was meant to take out Hitler, and his own top advisor tried to kill Hitler. Yep. He put it under the table in the bunker where they're having the meeting. The fucking table was so thick that it actually concealed the explosion, and everybody in there actually walked away with pretty much
just some burns.
Yeah, a couple burns and shit like that. That guy was obviously killed. They found him. There's so many like crazy, just famous ones. You know what I mean? But the exploding cigar one I always thought was super funny because they're like, he likes cigars, right? Like, so they put explosive devices in the cigar. All he had to do was light it, and it blown up.
Maybe that's where that like all the old school videos. Like I remember people like old black and white videos lighting it up and it would just explode.
Yeah,
Maybe that's where
they were making fun of that. Yeah,
they're making fun of that.
It's amazing with all this that goes on, right? What always amazes me is when you have a character, whether it's an Adolf Hitler or a Vladimir Putin or Kim in North Korea or whatever. We hear all these, that this all goes on, and we know it's very sophisticated, but not as sophisticated as you would think, but still.
I got a funny one.
You glamorize it in your mind.
But we rarely do we ever assassinate one of the really, really bad guys. I mean, it's really, really rare.
Well,
we got Osama bin Laden after the fact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like well after the fact.
Well after the fact. Yeah.
But like someone like right now, the two that would be the Putin and Kim would be the two that you would figure most of the world would be like, can somebody kill these motherfuckers?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Really? Like, the whole world's like, these two guys really are fucking shit up and really making things extremely dangerous for all of us. Somebody go kill that son of a bitch.
But then you can martyr them.
The thing that was good about the Hitler one was he would have been taken out by his own cabinet, which is like, okay, that's fine. But if we try to assassinate Putin, for instance, right now, that could lead to a whole world war.
Yeah, no
so
shit.
like we learned that with
World War One.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Nobody should have assassinated that motherfucker. It led to a big conflict. So I think that's partly one of the reasons we don't try to do that. So Cuba, we could have tried to take him out. We tried we did the Bay of Pigs. We did all these things to try and take out that motherfucker. Did not work. He was always one step ahead, probably because he was being fed information.
Being listened in.
He's being fed information from Russia.
Exactly.
I mean, they knew what was going on. So there's so many.
If you have enough money, you can figure out a way to get somebody on the inside of anything.
Yep.
Now, one of the cool things too is one of the techniques when they do find a microphone, when they do find there's two plays. You either get rid of it or you keep it there.
And
then you just
feed them the wrong info.
Whisper bullshit all day into that thing.
Goodness.
Counterintelligence. Yes.
That's smart.
Very smart. Yeah.
It's just like Facebook.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, we don't even need microphones anymore. We have it right here, guys.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Talking right
Every
into it.
single one of these things is recording us
We're
right
being-
now, probably.
Yeah, we're being listened to
somebody.
all the time.
Yeah.
I saw one. There was we used to use pigeons. We used to strap cameras on onto the pigeons, and then there was actually
Before we had drones.
no before. So there's two things I want to get to. So it's like they had the pigeons, right, and then that was actually just as good as our satellites at the time during the Cold War. So they actually came up with a better image than our satellites. So there were these pigeons flying over, and they would just take. It was like a rotate. So it would just take like 50 pictures over the time of the flight.
Pigeon imagery.
And they could somehow the pigeons knew where to fucking go
Pigeonry.
and what to take care of. But yeah, it literally looks like a pigeon with like a Polaroid camera on its chest.
Poor
just
pigeon.
fucking flying around. It was only 1.2 ounces. That's how. So it was fine. The pigeon was like, I can do this.
The animated movie about spies with Will Smith
Yes.
as a lead is turned into a pigeon.
Yeah, exactly. It's all sorts of. There's all sorts of like.
He's the biggest spy in the world, and he's turned into a pigeon
Yeah.
to be able to infiltrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, there he is.
That's what it looks like. It's a little Polaroid
Yeah.
camera.
Oh, he looks like he's ready
Now,
to take your photo.
Here is one of the funniest things I found. No, this was after the Cold War,
gosh.
and it was this. And Donnie can probably find it as I'm talking about it. It was like Operation like Cat or some shit like that. So they took this cat, and they did surgery on it, and they installed all these listening devices. They installed like a camera in the top of its skull.
Poor fucking animals.
And they trained the cat too, like extensively. Like the cat would listen like that. They could literally like send it radio signals. Yeah. They could send it radio signals. Acoustic Kitty, that's what it was.
Acoustic
so they would send it
Kitty.
radio signals,
Whoa,
and
I wanna hear
it
its
would
album.
listen to where it go. So here's what happens. They get it out of development. They're like, let's go fucking test this bitch. They go into New York City. They're like, all right, code name Acoustic Kitty is a go. Are you ready? Let's go. They open the fucking van door. Cat runs out, gets hit by a taxi immediately. Fucking dead.
Never taught it how to live outdoors.
It was like a $6 to $7 million project. Gone. All of them fired. They're like, fuck, we ruined this. Yeah.
This is not a real
It's a real thing. He pulled it up. Acoustic Kitty. It's a real thing.
I still
But they've
wanna
done
hear
all
the
sorts
album,
of things.
yeah.
CIA has a black budget, so they're like, we have a new idea. We're gonna capture Johns. Johns, by Johns I mean like they would have prostitutes. They would take Johns into the room to have sex with them. Then they would dose them with like 3,000 hits of LSD, and then they'd be like, let's just see what happens. And that was their way of testing LSD on the population.
Yep.
Yeah. It was called Operation Midnight Climax.
Right.
Has been declassified. The CIA does some fucked up shit.
And that was one of the biggest ways to coerce someone was with prostitutes.
Yes.
That was the easiest way to
Oh,
coerce
to infiltrate?
someone.
Yeah.
Was
Every time.
and Matahari was was at World War II, I think in
so.
France.
Yes.
Yeah, and she was beautiful, and she got a lot of information.
Yeah.
Sexpionage.
Sexpionage.
Espionage.
Yeah, Russia had an actual school for it. They
Yep.
would teach men and women with the art of seduction to get information out, which is pretty funny when you think about it.
I wish I would have taken that class. I'm the opposite. Whatever you can do to scare
useful.
people away when you're trying to be sexy. That's what I do.
Counter sex.
Yeah.
Conversation.
Yeah, that's me. If you ever need anyone turned off, just call me.
So it really comes, the way you hear when you hear all of this, and it's out there, and you go, so anything. This should be a rule to any individual, everybody. If you are doing anything that you don't want other people that for anybody else to find out that you were doing this would ruin you. I mean, would really cripple you or totally ruin you. You can to think that you are going to be able to do something like that and
so
not be found out is ludicrous.
Ludicrous, yeah.
It's completely ludicrous. And the idea, and that's where you even go when you talk about conspiracy theories, and Epstein as an example.
Oh my God.
And you go okay, nobody really knows what he did. Yes, they do. Yes,
Yeah,
people.
they do.
There are people that know exactly what the fuck he was doing.
Yep.
Because he did it so much. You know what I mean? And he
Blatantly.
out there. So
much.
He could have been a CIA asset.
but that's the thing.
never know.
You don't know, but just the idea that someone can hide anything is pretty
nowadays,
that people want to know, that anybody would care to know about.
Well, that's where Epstein's a very unique case, because that's where the court of public opinion came into effect and actually did work on somebody. Because you have to understand, he was arrested back in 2011 and for human sex trafficking violations, and they were the prosecutor was really working on the case was told, this is above your pay grade and you're gonna give him this, and it was like a fucking bullshit sentence to the point where he didn't even have to serve time in jail. All he had to do is show up once a fucking month, and they were like, all right, cool, we'll see you next time.
You're still
He
here.
was able to walk out of that prison with no problem at all. He didn't even have a prison cell, an actual designated prison cell. And then finally, people started to hear about it, and then the public was like, this is outrageous.
It's nuts.
Why is he not arrested?
It's like these people, I know the far-fetched, but still, you go, people made this big deal out of the fact that Hillary Clinton and these people were running this pedophile thing out of a donut shop or some shit.
Pizzagate.
A pizza shop or something like that. And you go, well, hey, okay, let's really think about the real deal. How many big-time wealthy motherfuckers out there are going to Thailand and Central America and all these
Epstein's
places and having sex with children
Yes.
all the fucking time.
All the time.
All the time. They're all interwoven and connected. No one gives the other one up, because there's billions of dollars involved in this sphere. So there's kind of like this, just everybody's going to protect everybody kind of a thing.
So
now, and that seems to be a wild conspiracy theory just in itself, but it's like that. It seems to be.
But if you're the director of the CIA and you go, there's all this corporate interest. There's all these mega rich people who have zero ties to nationality. They don't care. They're international people. They don't give a fuck about where they were born.
Right.
Let's create a proxy, Epstein. Let's make him a little island. Give him fucking black budget.
bring 'em
Fly
all there.
these people come in. He records them doing nefarious shit. And then guess what? Now you're under their thumb. Now you will make plays the way we want you to make plays.
Damn right.
And that's like you said. It's like that ego thing of let's just take Bill Gates for instance and be like, no, we'll decide what you do with your company because we have a video of you doing horrible shit, and that's what they really uncovered with Epstein. Right. It was that he wasn't just some dude who was acting alone. He was a dirt gathering machine.
Dirtbag.
Yes, it's pretty crazy, man.
And so the idea that somehow you're going to create a world to where that doesn't exist.
Pandora's out the box, man.
The problem is, the thing is, it's when you really look at all this, it's human nature.
Yeah.
We don't trust each other. We should trust each other, but we don't. Now, this group right here can sit here and go, I do trust, and I do, and I think there's a huge part of the population of the world that are kind, trusting, and want to believe that is what's running things.
Right.
And I won't say that a big part of the economy and everything is not run that way. I think there is that. But there is also when we get to big power, huge competitive power, espionage, spying, all this type of stuff is something that just is built in.
Yeah.
It's human nature.
Yep.
It's human nature.
They just shoveled money into it.
Yeah.
Time and effort.
well,
Yeah. So
did it.
just live with it. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah, and make shit.
Deal
You're
with
being watched, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't
All the
don't
time.
do shit you can't tell people that you're doing.
Yes.
Okay? That would be
Clean
your rule of thumb right there. Don't do shit that
And
you
if you
can't.
do it alone in the dark.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
without your phone.
Right. If
Don't
you
film
if
yourself,
you have an
don't post
escape
it.
kit up your ass,
You're good.
Don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody. Yeah, squeeze. Hold it. All right, guys. I think we
cause
did
hemorrhoids.
it. Yeah, probably.
Probably
think
more
so.
than
I
that.
think- for
think
sure.
that'd be
Anal
tough.
fissures or whatever.
Anal fissures.
We could talk about this for a long time.
We can go on and on. Yeah.
Yeah, it was scary, guys.
Yeah.
Ah, look at her face. She's like, oh my
I'm
God.
so glad we just
Yeah.
ended with the butt toolkit.
Like, subscribe, comment. Tell us what's in your rectal cavity. And
Well, please do.
let's have some fun.
Please do. I want to see it in the comments.
Thank you guys for tuning into another episode. Go to our Instagram, McCurdy's Comedy Official, and check out the link tree in this description of the episode. That's all of our goodies, all of our things are there. We love you guys. We'll see you next time. Good night.